Welcome to another video, and as you can see by the title, we've got a 112 kill game on Aerodrome with the Swiss K sniper. So yeah, I'm going to get into this video straight away, talk about how I found the gun, as well as then obviously how to play Aerodrome, and then what I was doing specifically in this game to find and maximise the amount of potential kills and where I was looking, depending on what flags the enemies had. But straight off the bat, the first thing I need to say with this gun, which made it much more of a challenge to get the 100 kills, was the specializations are still bugged and messed up, for me at least anyways, in that when I want to choose a specialization to give me the 6x scope, sometimes I'll spawn into the game, or even just randomly while during the middle of a life, it will change back to the 3x scope from the 6x scope. So, you know, when you have the 6x scope, you want to learn and play at a certain range and keep your distance, because you've got that 6x scope, so you're going to be less effective at close range, and then suddenly you've got a 3x scope, so it's really hard to be consistent with your shots and learn the bullet velocity and distances for moving headshots when you're constantly switching between different ranges to use the gun at, because you're using a 3x or a 6x scope. So essentially I had to complete this challenge without the 6x specialization, which I would have thought for me would have been easier, seeing as I prefer the 6x scope on most snipers, even at close range, and therefore obviously had to use the 3x scope to get this 100 kill game. But obviously if you do want to see the specializations, be sure to check out the specializations playlist I've got on the channel. It's on the home page, or you can find it in the playlist section, where I'll just cover all of the specializations for all the guns in the game, and just show which ones I've chosen and which ones I use and why. Maybe they might not be the best, they might not suit your playstyle, but they are definitely the ones I use, and you can hear my reasoning as to why I use them. But yeah, the Swiss K, as you can see, is obviously very unique, as it has that triangular or pyramid reticle on the scope, which is obviously a lot different to all of the plus reticles in the game, and it is quite hard to use, to be fair, because it's when tracking moving targets, it can block the target quite a little bit, and obviously become quite hard. So to use this sniper, you've got to go for those stationary targets who are standing still. But other than that, it has got a quick fire rate. It's got 7 bullets which you can have in a magazine if you have got that specialization, which I have chosen, and therefore you can pick off a lot of quick headshots on standing moving targets. And what I will say, you will see I do hit a few moving headshots at longer range, and moving headshots do become easier with this gun. Obviously the more practice you have and the more you use it, you'll get into the rhythm and you'll learn how to become quite effective with it in that sense. And it's got a very good bullet velocity, so it's perfect for long ranged moving targets. Now I didn't use it, but this sniper has got the option to change and use the iron sight, which is obviously on the side of the gun as well. This is something you need to obviously think about and utilize. It is quite hard to use and tricky to use, but it can be effective in close range potentially, especially if you get a lot of stationary targets and you flank them. Sometimes the iron sight will be more beneficial than the scope, because you've got a better vision of all the enemies, where they're moving, and you're not zoomed in so far. It makes it hard if they do end up moving. But yeah, there's not much else to say than that on the Swiss K. It is what it is. It's quite a tricky, skillful gun to use, especially because of the reticle, but it is beneficial in loads of different areas, such as its bullet velocity and its magazine size and its rate of fire. So if you can look past and get used to the sight, it's a very good sniper to use. But when we want to talk about how I'm playing this map, Aerodrome, to find the most amount of kills, I'm basically setting myself up in the power position, which is basically right on the massive Watchtower. This just gives you it's very beneficial because you can see all the enemies that are on D flag running to the hangar. If you obviously are spawned on the British side like I am, if you are spawned on the German side, you can still use this power position, because you can still snipe and see all the enemies that are in the hangar. They'll normally build all the sandbags, and there's loads of just head glitches, free headshots if you're a sniper. So this position right here where I am now, this is the power position you want to use. It gives you, you're the closest to seeing and shooting all the enemies that are off on the mountain side, on the left of me or behind me now. You can see all the enemies on D flag, running to and from D and the hangar. Obviously, you're closest to the hangar to shoot any enemies that, if they are in or on the hangar, if that's their spawn. So it's just the best position to be able to see and be at a good range with the 3x scope for all enemies in this game on this map. But yeah, when talking about that watchtower as well, it is sat right next on that ridge line, which goes down into that divot. I think it's a dried up river or stream that goes straight through the middle of the map. So sat right on the edge next to that, which means you can obviously sit behind that on like a head glitch, basically, and it gives you perfect cover to pop behind, especially if any tanks or vehicles come, and you can shoot any enemies that are going between D flag and C flag. And you don't really have to watch your back to all the enemies along the hillside because there normally isn't that many. And even if there is, you'll be able to see them first and check that first. So in terms of this game that I'm playing, it has obviously stayed quite well balanced, and it normally will do, because the fight, which normally happens right in between C and D flag, you know, you have your team normally camped on C flag, and you've got those two hallways down either side, and you've got the main entrance. The enemies normally are going to always come through both of the side, you know, the side hallways, and they're like two major choke points. So it's quite hard for the enemy to get on and capture C flag, but it's also hard for our team to get off of C flag here and push on capture D flag. So the game will generally stay well balanced like it is here, which is perfect for me going for the high kill game, as it means the tickets are only draining at the slowest rate possible. But yeah, all I'm essentially doing in this game is just staying on this power position, because one, I can see everything around the map, but even if I push forward, I'm still trying to stay down the whole middle of the map anywhere, because it just gives you the easiest access and range for everything around you, basically. So just try and stay down the middle of the map as much as possible if you are going to be using a sniper. Yeah, that's going to cover it for this game. There's not really much I can say on moving around the map, depending on what flags the enemies have got. It is literally just using the middle of the map. That's literally all I could say. It's just the best for seeing all the enemies and maximising the potential amount of enemies you can see and therefore kill. But yeah, that wraps it up for this game. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of the game. There's about 4 or 5 minutes left, and I'll see you on the next one.
We need a JB2 airstrike right away, this location.